We have now, we're starting a shir. Good evening. Welcome to our Amud Yomi shir. Daf Tezvav Amud Beis towards the bottom of the page. Today's Amud Yomi of Dirshu. The Dirshu world is in Daf Tes Zayin Amud Aleph. Let's just start recapping from Tezvav Amud Beis. From the two dots, the line starts with the word Klei Zchuchis. So on our, I'll just give a small introduction. The daf we did on Friday and Shabbos basically was like a brisa in the middle of the Yud Ches Dover. We had another brisa mentioned in daf Yudaled Amud Beis, and that was one of the things that were mentioned there was Shimon Meshatach Tiken Yosi ben Yezer Ish Tzeda v'Yosi ben Yochanan Ish Yerushalayim Gozrotum Al Eretz Ha'amim Val Klei Zchuchis. So the two Yosis, the Zugois, there was a chavrus of Tanoim of the Zugois. They were people who established two gzeros, two takonos, two gzeros actually. One of them was Tumah Eretz Ha'amim, that people go to Chutz La'aretz. They are, when they come back to Eretz Yisrael, they're referred to as Tomei. They have to go and do the Paraduma because there's a chashash that Chutz La'aretz people don't bury their mason properly. And therefore, when you go to Chutz La'aretz, you may very likely be pushing dead people's bodies or bones at least. And then there's another gzera of Klei Zchuchis. Klei Zchuchis, vessels made out of glassware. How do you know the glassware, Tumah applies to glassware? Well, it didn't until Yosi and Yosi came, and they lived more than 100 years before the Churban of Bais Sheni. Later on, there was another Rabbanon of Shmoinim Shona that we saw on Shabbos, Friday Shabbos. We saw in Daf Tesvav that 80 years before the Churban Abais, again, there was a Gzera on Klei Zchuchis. They intensified the Gzera. Then again in Usha, the Gzera became more and more intense until there was full Gzera on Klei Zchuchis. The Klei Zchuchis should be referred to as any other Keli that is susceptible to Tumah. Midoraisa, we don't find Zchuchis in the Torah. We don't find Zchuchis being Tumah in the Torah or otherwise. We do find Kli Cheres Muforish in the Torah. We're going to see that. We find Kli Etz, wood. We find ore, things made out of leather. We find other items as well, stat, and we're going to have a bit of a visit to other materials as well. Today, the topic is Klei Zchuchis, the Gzera, the Rabbanon, the Ezros Hashem, Sherev Siyata Dishmaya, Sari Difficult Sugya, just to understand the nature of the Klei Zchuchis. How does the Gzera, the Rabbanon work to make them Tomeh? Just so you should know, Aloha L'maisa, I'll start with Aloha L'maisa, the wrong way around. That even today, although unfortunately we don't have Tumah V'Tara, we do have the concept of Tvilas Kelim, right? The Gemara says the end of the Zara, Tvilas Kelim, you should know the Klei Zchuchis are Midorabanon, not Midoraisa. You have to be told the Klei Zchuchis made in where else but China. I'm not going to question of Pyrex, they have proper Klei Zchuchis, so you have to be told it, but that's the Rabbanon. You still make it tefillah with a bracha. But let's say you have a metal one and the glass one, you better make the bracha on the doraisa and have the doraisa first. In the mikveh, as far as I know, that's halacha. You know who to ask, your local Orthodox rabbi. Yeah, but as far as I know, that's a story. There are many other halachas, we're not learning now Tvilas Kelim, but there's just a concept, Klei Zchuchis still today, didn't change. It stayed the Rabbanon, and Mateches would be the Oraisa. Klei Cheres don't need any tefillah in mikveh at all, if it's complete Cheres. Right, Klei Zchuchis. Towards the end, we're going back, David, to Klei Zchuchis, Tezvav Amud Beis, because that's the beginning of the Inyan. Klei Zchuchis, my time ago, Rabbanon Tumah. Why is it that Rabbanon decided Tumah on Klei Zchuchis? Why is that? Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Amar Rish Lakish. By the way, there is a girsa that erases the word Amar Rabbi Yochanan. It's not so likely for Rabbi Yochanan to quote Rish Lakish, right? Rish Lakish is more like a Talmud of Rabbi Yochanan. So there is a girsa that removes the word Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Interesting. So for sure, Rish Lakish said, Hoil v'tchilas brioson minachol shavyunu Rabbanon kekli cheres, which means the reason why Klei Zchuchis Rabbanon established Tumah there, because why? Brioson minachol. How do you make Zchuchis? You make it from sand, and that is similar to Cheres. Cheres also is made from earth, what you like to call in English earthenware, right? Clay. And therefore, because there's similarity, between Klei Zchuchis which in klei cheres are obviously very much Tumah d'oraisa, and so too klei zchuchis, Rabbanan said, are going to be Tumah. By the way, needless to say, when I say Tumah, I was saying Tvilas Kelim, just an example. Obviously, I mean to say if it's touched by Tumah, obviously, yeah? In other words, touched by Sheretz, in the house of a dead person, v'chulei, yeah? Then these things apply to Klei Zchuchis. If it comes in contact with Tumah, then they become Tumah, the Klei Zchuchis, only with the Rabbanon. Why? Because they're similar to Klei Cheres. That's a classical Gzera, something that's similar to the Raisa. Rabbanon come and they find it necessary to impose the Gzera. Ela me'ata, frag the Gemara, if so, if you really tell me that the only reason, the one and only reason for Klei Zchuchis is because it's like Klei Cheres, lo te'ele entara b'mikveh. If so, let it follow their father, the Kli Cheres. They shouldn't have any tar in the mikveh. Kli Cheres, it says Kli Cheres, en yoytze midei dofia le'oilom, and there's no tar of a mikveh. Kli Cheres is a hopeless guy. A Kli Cheres, there are two areas in halacha. One of them applies today too. Kli Cheres, if it once it receives Tumah, it says before in the Torah, yutatz. Kli Cheres that receives Tumah, what's the only way to make it tahor? Break it. Once it's broken, it's not a kli anymore. That's the only way to make it tahor again. You can't dip it in the local ritual bath. When you want to be mitar the kli cheres, it just won't work, right? And by the way, this is not so connected. We also know that kli cheres also is bolea, when it absorbs treif food, right? The treif fatam, you can't take it out. Yeah, there's no hagolah b'kli cheres. Yeah, that's why China is the whole story. Yeah. If so why do you tell me, if so Kli Zchuchis, the only reason Kli Zchuchis was Tomeh is because of what? It's like Kli Cheres, so it should follow the same characteristics, and just Kli Cheres does not become Torah in the mikveh. Kli Zchuchis should not become Torah in the mikveh either. And yet, Alamat Nan, why did we learn in the Mishnah? Yeah, we learned the Mishnah in Kelim, actually it's Mishnah in Mikvois, actually saw it this evening, because I wanted to check something. It says the Mishnah in Mikvois, the Elu Choitzitzin Bekelim, yeah, the Mishnah gives you a list of all types of things of dirt that create chatzitza. Yeah, you know what chatzitza is, yeah, interruption. Those things, the chatzitza in the mikveh in kelim, hazefes vehamor b'klei zchuchis. We start off the list by saying the klei zchuchis, not many things create chatzitza in klei zchuchis. Why? Klei zchuchis are, as we know, till today, they're very smooth, right? And it's very easy to wash them, as opposed to cheres or mateches, right? Klei zchuchis, they're very washable, and therefore a person is not so makbid if it's a bit dirty, because it's going to go off anyways. Anyway, it's going to be rinsed off, yeah? It's not like akpoda, except for zefes, tar, and mo. Mo is like, I think it's called in English, mir, M-Y-R-R-H or something. Yeah, it's like mir, what? One of the spices. Yeah, I checked in the Mishnah, because nobody explained. I checked in the Mishnah, I told them before, it's a very good smelling thing, but it's very thick. It's like musk or one of these things. It's good smelling. You don't always want it on your plate. Yeah, and it's very sticky. So tar and sticky substances, they are considered chatzitza because you do care about them. Even klei zchuchis, they're diehards, and therefore you care and you makpid, and that's called chatzitza in the mikveh. Mikveh? Wait a second. What did I hear? You're telling me that klei zchuchis are taken to the mikveh if they're tameh. Otherwise, chatzitza wouldn't apply. So why? You just told me the klei zchuchis are like cheres. Cheres, there's no mikveh b'cheres. It's hopeless. So why is zchuchis different? It only came because of klei cheres. Answers the Gemara, really enukimta. Therefore, the Gemara is really making enukimta. You know the stories over here. You know when is it true that there is mikveh and there's chatzitza and there's water? You know when that is true. Igon shenikvu v'heitif leitoichon avar, called avar. In other words, let's say the kli zchuchis were nikvu. In the middle of the kli zchuchis, it's somewhere in the kli zchuchis, somebody perforated a hole, and the kli zchuchis became useless. Yeah, there's a hole, nikuv perforating a hole. It's useless now, and we all know, we saw it b'kli cheres, that applies to all kelim. Once the kli has a hole in it and makes it not usable anymore, it's not a kli anymore, and it's tahor. So let's say at the kli zchuchis, which lost its name as a kli, because the zchuchis was already, was bored a hole, and now you stuffed it, you caulked it, you stuffed it with lead. Avar is, I think, like lead or tin, one of those things. And because the thing that makes it survive and function as a kli is mateches, it may be a small piece, it gives the whole kli name of mateches. Because that's the thing that holds everything. How do you know? Rabbi Meir, well, you may argue, very nice, but that's the opinion of Rabbi Meir. The Oma, what did Rabbi Meir say? Rabbi Meir believes that we don't go by percentage or by importance, but the entire name of the kli follows the maimid, which means if the maimid means what makes it survive. Yeah, let's say this was the kli zchuchis, yeah, with a hole over here, the hot tea would spill, yeah? I'm now blocking it, I'm caulking it with mateches. I put some mateches over here, some metal. It's called a kli mateches because it's the only thing that keeps it in place. Who says that? Rabbi Meir. And we follow Rabbi Meir in the Mishnah. So you know it, you're right. Unbelievable. Klei zchuchis really have no Torah in the mikveh. You know when it does have Torah in the mikveh, only when it has some mateches that's crucial for its survival. Then it already has the name of kli mateches, the status of mateches, of metal, and then you put it in the mikveh. The Tanya, as we say in the Brisa, klei zchuchis shenikvu vehitif letoichan avar, a kli zchuchis was perforated and you had teeth, like you put drop by drop. You stuffed it, drop by drop, some lead. How did it say avar? Lead or tin? Lead, whatever. So then, Omar Rabban Shimon Gamliel, Rabbi Meir Metame, it doesn't matter. Rabbi Meir Metame v'chachomim mitarin. Rabbi Meir says that it's tome. Why? Well, if you need the mateches, without the mateches, you're not going to have a kli. So it's called a kli mateches. Chachomim say no. If it's just the minority, then it's still called zchuchis, and it's tahor, meaning really kli zchuchis. Yeah, tahor means that, again, the question is what tahor means. Tahor midoraisa, it's tahor. Kli zchuchis tahor midoraisa, not midorbanon, it's not. And also, it doesn't go to the mikveh. It won't help it, the mikveh, right? Okay? Well, Lamaisa, it still has the status of a kli zchuchis. And we follow Rabbi Meir. So, characteristic number one, I wish I had the whiteboard, but we can remember it ourselves. What we're going to do now is a journey through different characteristics of kelim, and we're going to see all the time if kli zchuchis is a kli cheres or kli matches or other things. So right now we say kli zchuchis are like kli cheres. They do not have tar in the mikveh. They don't have tar in the mikveh, right? So, okay, I'm not going to go into this now. Chachamim basically, so a kli zchuchis, what about the kli zchuchis? It's like kli cheres. It's the only reason it's done is because it's similar to kli cheres. And if it's pure zchuchis without mateches, that's important. Really, what do? If it's tama, you got to break it. You can't take it to the mikveh. So it sounds like over here. Elamata. Now, frag the Gemara. Okay, elamata meaning following your logic. If you want to say it's like licheres, I have a big question on you. If so, loy litamu migaban. Oh, if so, if you want to tell me kli zchuchis is like licheres, therefore, a kli zchuchis should not become tomeh from the outside, from touching the outside. Kli cheres, I'm just giving an introduction before we see the Gemara, and might as well see Rashi. We all know the story about kli cheres. It's described in the Torah. We started Vayikra. Soon we're going to see it, yeah? In the parashas there, in Shmini. Where's it? The end of Tzav Shmini, one of them. Yeah, it says what? Let's say you have kli cheres, and you have a sheretz, a dead sheretz hanging in the inner space of the kli cheres, it becomes tomeh. But if the sheretz touches the kli cheres on the outside, it doesn't become tomeh. A kli mateches, a metal kli, you touch it from the outside, dead sheretz becomes tomeh. Kli cheres is not. Kli cheres becomes tomeh from the inside, not from the outside. That's gzeras hakosov. That's how it works. So now, alamatanan, and yet look at what the Mishnah says. Klei cheres v'klei neter. Neter, says Rashi, is white earth. Yeah, you have earthenware or white earth. That's similar to cheres. Tumason shova. They have the same tumah. They have the same kind of tumah. Mitamin umetamin ma'avirehen. Says Rashi, mitamin umetamin. Yeah. Let's see the Rashi inside. It's a very, very crucial Rashi. Mitam tamin ma'aviron. The Rashi in the top of the page. Nitles tumah ba'aviron. What did I tell you? You have a dead sheretz that somehow, imagine this is sheretz, and it somehow becomes tomeh. Let me just show it to the people at home. 1 second. Oh, let's say this is a sheretz, the spoon, and the sheretz enter the airspace of a kli cheres. Yeah, what happens? Then the entire airspace becomes tomeh. What do you mean the air is tomeh? Yes, because now it will be metame fruit that's inside or drinks. Yeah, let's see Rashi. Needless tuma ba'aviron. No. Rashi starts the other way. Sorry. What I said was right, but Rashi starts the other way. Needless tuma ba'aviron, nitma min ha'avir. Yeah? In other words, let's say you have tuma that's hanging inside. So now the whole kli becomes tome because of the air. What I said was partially true. This is a sheretz. It's now inside. The air becomes tome, not an afkamina. What do you mean air is tome? The nafkamina is not that the kli became tome through the air. The kli is tome from the inside. The kli itself is now tome. Now you know what happened next. Now imagine yourself, this is some kind of food, avocado, I don't know, whichever food you want. The food is now hanging in the unclean, in the tomedike air. Then mitamin es ha oichlim. Now the air and the kli makes the oichel inside tome. So the sheretz touching the food, touching the air in the inside, made the air in the kli tome. And now you put food inside, even without touching the walls, the food becomes tome from the avir kli cheres. It goes both ways. Through the air, it becomes, creates tuma, and also receives tuma, something that went into the avir, even without touching. And Rashi says, none of them touch the actual walls of the kli. It's all through air, all Wi-Fi, the tuma. Yeah, it's all going through the air, making it tome and becoming tome. The chtiv, it says there, v'chol asher b'toicho yitma, anything that's inside becomes tome. V'afil maloi chadal she'eno ger b'defnosa v'somach l'dfanos. Loi chadal is always, Rashi, the Gemara always brings chadal, it's the example for the smallest kind of seed. Let's say it's full of many small seeds. They all become tome. How can they all become tome? Remember the chart last week? Rishon, Sheni, Shlish, Shirvi, only 4. If he goes by maga, only 4 tiny particles of chardal should be tome, if at all. Yeah. And now you have hundreds of them. How come they're all tome? Because it's not the maga; it's the whole air is tome. It's one general tuma avir makes everything tome, and that's a kli cheres works. Now, let's see back to the Mishnah quoted here. Umitamin me'achorehen. So this is the Rabbanon. Let's look at that. Chakak beis moshavim. Look, you see, you don't see it maybe, but inside here there's like a bit of a dent, inner space over here, because there's inner space or outer space from the outside. Yeah, although it's not the real space, Rabbanan made the gzera. Also, it becomes toma from here. If tuma touched it here, it becomes toma also. The ein mitamin migaben. Here, no. If anything touch it from the outside, dead sheretz, real dead sheretz. Yeah. Dead whatever, I don't know, dead toad, yeah, touched it here. What is it? Not becoming tome. Okay. And what else is unique about kli cheres v'kli neter? The shviroson v'taharoson, as we said, the only thing that makes it tohor is what? Break it. Break it, don't make it. Yeah, the opposite of chinuch. Yeah, you have to break the kli and not make it. Don't try. Yeah, it makes it tohor. What can we be medaik from the Mishnah? These unique things of receiving tuma from the inside, not from the outside, are what? Only regarding kli cheres v'kli neter. They are the 2 members of that exclusive club. Aval midia chrina loy. Right? In other words, anything else, including schuchis. Now the Mishnah should mention all the drabonon. The Mishnah there in Kalim. This Mishnah in Kalim. What's the longest Masechta in Shas in Mishnayos? Kalim, 30 prokim. Yeah. Any competitors? 30 prokim. Yes, Kalim is 30. Shabbos only 24. Don't know. And the winner is Babakama B'Mitzvah and Basra. Kalim is divided to 3 parts. You know, Kama B'Mitzvah and Basra. So Maseches Kalim is the big one. Every imaginable kli under the sun is there with all materials, and we conveniently omitted Kleis Chuchis. So it sounds like Kleis Chuchis. What about them? They don't have that quality, and they do, which means they are like regular Kalim, like Mateches and others, who do receive tuma from the outside. Why? You just told me that kli zchuchis is a klei cheres. How come klei zchuchis do get the tuma from the outside and not from the inside? Tosfos says there are even better sources to prove. He goes into why we don't mention it, but just for us to feel comfortable, yeah, there is no kli cheres. Yeah, a kli zchuchis. We see other sources is like a regular kli mateches. He receives tuma from the outside, not from the inside. Why? Just Tosfos elaborates more. Same question. Amri, Answers the Gemara. Back to the Gemara. Kema dechenishtabu yesh lahem takono shavinu keklei matochois. That's interesting. In other words, the quality, we're talking about physics, not halacha, not halacha. What happens to a kli zchuchis that breaks? Well, I never knew that before I learned the Gemara. Apparently, if it breaks, it has takono. There's a solution, there's a remedy. You can melt it again, and make another kli zchuchis. As opposed to kli cheres hanishbar, we say it from the Sanatoikef. Broken cheres, you can't melt again and rebuild it. You can try and stick it, it won't be nice, yeah? But it's not up. So, clay zchuchis, in one way, are similar to clay matochos. We all know that mateches, metal, you can clearly melt and remold, reshape. That's not news. So because clay zchuchis, in certain things, are similar to clay matochos, that they can be recrafted, remade. Mimela, in certain things, we behave towards them like clay matochos, and that is what? If they touch on the outside, then really it's Tumah. In the inside, it's not Tumah, like metal kli. Right? So interesting. So let's repeat. So now, the reason why clay zchuchis came into the scene are Tumah, the similar to clay cheres. That's true. However, they're also similar to clay mateches in a different quality of being able to be, I would say, recycled. Mimela, in the tchum, in the area of touching from the outside, not the inside, the way it works is a kli mateches. It does get tumah from the outside, like kli matoches, not like kli cheres. That's what we say so far. Ela me'ata, if so, so you're telling me now, make up your mind. Now what are you telling me? That's similar to clay matochos, right? Okay, let's put that into test now. Oh, this is preparing us for the next Omud. The Zegzera de Rabbanon, I want to stress very much. Actually, it's one of the Yud Chesdover. It's one of the Gzeres that we, not Yud Chesdover. It's one of the Shuman ben Shatach. That, what did I tell you a few minutes ago? If any kli breaks, right, or has this big hole inside that can't hold, let's say, like a rimo in different sizes, there are 5 different sizes. Let's say there's a significant hole in the kli. Is it a kli anymore? Is it tome? No. It was touched by shtrotzi, mesim, nidas, zav, yoledis, metzoiro. But once you have a big hole, it's not a kli anymore, and it's tahor. What happens if you want to, let's be smart. Why do we need to go to mikveh b'chlal with the kelim? Let's restuff it, reconstruct it, and it's tahor. And we're going to see in Amud Beis, it was a queen, Shlom Tziona Malka. She came up with that Einfall, smart woman, and Chachomi made the gzera. You can't do that with the Rabbanon. Rabbanon made the gzera that clay matochos that can be recrafted. If you make a hole and then you rebuild them, they really go back to the old Tumah with the Rabbanon. Soon we're going to see why, either today or tomorrow. That's gzera the Rabbanon. Don't play shtick with Tumah. And the old Tumah will go back straight away. The Tanan. Hey, wait. And by Zchuchis, we don't have that. By Zchuchis, we don't say that if you perforated a hole in the Zchuchis and then refilled it with Zchuchis, you fixed it. We say, no. Okay, now it's Tohar, unless it becomes Tomeh again. Why? If it's the Klei Matochos, why doesn't the Gzera apply to Klei Zchuchis again? We're going to see it now inside and they'll get it clear. That none. Everything will be clear now. Klei matochos, the clay, keli, any kli, any vessel, any receptacle made out of metal. Pshutehen, what's pshutehen? Pashut means it has no sides. Let's say a knife or a patz, how do you call it? Patz in Yiddish, right? A tray, right? A tray or a knife or things like that that are pashut. They're straight with no walls, yeah? Umekableyan, receptacles that have a place to receive things. Tmein, the both mekabel tumah, as opposed to many other materials that don't receive tumah if they're pshutim. See later. Nishberu, let's say they broke. Taru, they're tahor. Your kli is broken. It's tahor, as we said. Here comes the Rabbanon. Here comes bad news. Bad news. Chazar b'osam and kelim. Let's say you fixed the kli. You had a kli mateches. You had a nice pot. The pot had what? A hole in it, in a significant place. It's tahor. So if you want to allow your kid to play with it, no problem. To just the hole with a pot with a hole. But let's say you rebuilt it, you restuffed it with metal. Rabbanan made the gzera. The old tumah that was on it automatically comes back without new tumah touching it. It's automatic that the old tumah reappears, comes back from the dead. Yeah, it was tome. You perforate it, then you rebuilt it, bam, back to be tome with the rabbanon. And yet, dilu gabi klei zchuchis. When it comes gabe regarding klei zchuchis, the glassware, it says none. Clay etz, the clay. Oh, now we're going to see a whole list of them. This is all in Maseches Kelim. Clay etz. Yeah, what's etz? Wood. Wood, yeah. Kelim made out of wood. The clay or, kelim made out of leather. Clay etzem. Clay etzem are made out of bones. Yeah, you can make kelim out of bones, African style. The clay zchuchis, oh, the star of the show. Pshutein tehoirin. Oh, this is very important. I would see Rashi now, but first I'll tell you about that. There's a famous rule, which we'll see right in front of our eyes. Clay etz, midoraisa at least. Let's say you have a shelf not connected to the ground, because then anyhow it's not the kabul tuma. You have some kind of tray, like a kitchen tray for the vegetables. Many times it's made out of what? Wood. You have a nice wooden tray, wooden knife, wooden table. Look, right over here. Anything that's wooden and flat with no how do you call sides, no walls, is really tahar. Doesn't receive any tuma. Why? Because kli etz, kli or, kli etzem, all these materials, you know why when they're flat they don't receive tuma? We may see it in Rashi if we have time, because all of them are compared in the Torah. They're written in the same pasuk together with one key word, sak. Sak. In Hebrew, sin kuf, and in English, S-A-C-K, sack. In other words, something made out of, what's a sack? Something that's holding. Yeah, sack by definition means a receptacle. You hold something inside of it. So kli etz is compared to sak, and so are the ones from leather, from bones, v'chulei. All of them, yeah, if they're pashut, meaning they're straight and smooth without any sides, they're a tahor. Umekablei and tmein. Only if it's a receptacle, it's a kli kibul, then it's dumb, it's like a sack. So far, so good. Okay, without going into details. Nishberu toharu. Same rule applies to everybody. If they're broke, they're tor. Broken is, they say, but tshuva. Right? When you do tshuva, you have to break in front of Hashem, then you become tohar. Nishberu toharu. That's a Hasidic shazak. Oh, we've some in Hasidim. Nishberu toharu. Chazav osam and kelim. Oh, listen to this carefully. Let's say you were smart, like that queen. What did you do? You had a hole in your kli zchuchis. Now it's tahar. Now I'm restuffing it. I'm cooking it again. Now it's a kli. Mikablin tuma mikanu lehabo. What is mikanu lehabo? It doesn't come back straight away. If now, a day or two or three later, there will be dead sheretz in the kli, touching the kli, then it will become tome. It says the Gemara, mikanu lehabo in lemafrea loy. What does it mean? It's not like kli mateches that the second you fixed it, boom, then the old tuma automatically reverted and came back. No, it stays tahor unless another tuma will come later, like every kli. But what do we see clearly? That in that respect, kli zchuchis, which you like so much to compare to clay mateches, regarding what? Regarding the location of tuma. If the tuma came on the outside of kli zchuchis, it becomes tome, and inside no, like what lekli mateches. If so, why is it when it comes to that zero of re-establishing the tumah automatically by breaking and fixing by clay mateches, that's a no-no, midrabanan, and by clay zchuchis, it's okay. Yeah, you can break it, make a new one, and use it. Do not gozer. Why not? I thought clay zchuchis are the same as what? As the clay mateches. Answers the Gemara, the famous rule, which you saw Daf Yud from on base. I think it was also a Shabbos. I don't know if we learned it together. Tumas kli zchuchis derabonon. V'tuma yeshana derabonon. Two derabonons we don't always make. Get that? In other words, the whole idea of klei zchuchis being toma, who invented that? Who established the heilig gezach? Rabbonon. Who established the gzera of breaking and making the old tuma pops back in? Also the rabbonon. Two derabonons we don't always make. As the Gemara elaborates, the tuma doraisa achiso barabonon tuma. If the tuma is doraisa, such as what? The tuma of the, let's say, the tuma doraisa of mateches. Tumas mateches is doraisa. Rabbanon reestablished tuma. In the case you were smart, depends. and you broke and you fixed. But the Tumah D'Rabbanon, lo chisel Rabbanon Tumah. Tumah, that the whole Tumah right from the start is the Oraisa, the whole idea of Tumah just with the Rabbanon, they're not goes or Tumah Yashono. That's what we say. So now let's now review. Let's review. So far, that's a very, very good question. You hear Akiva's question? Ishal. Oh, that's a very good question. I don't remember the answer. I didn't have time to prepare now. It's a very good question. I remember there's an answer in the Rishonim, in the Rishonim also. Akiva is asking a very, very good question, and that is, it sounds like, I don't remember the answer. I have to get back to you. It sounds like yeah, all of them, we say that if you broke and you rebuilt them, yeah, we don't have the Gzera. Why did you say the Rabbanon? That's only true about Klei Zchuchis. But Klei Etz and Klei are not the Rabbanon, the Doraisa. So I remember the people, the Meforshim asked a question. Sadly, I did not have time today to look at it, but I remember there's a question. I'll pause a second. I repeated the question. 1 second. Right over here, the question is the other things like what's his name, like the O and Etz are the Oraisa. So we should have the Gzera. If you break them and make them, it works. So he brings down B'Shem, the Meforsh, and the Mishnah, the Rash, famous from Mishnah. It's easy to refix the Klei Mateches. You mold, you fix it, it's easier. In other words, it's very common to play that game, to play the shtick, and make a hole and then refill it. Even the Doraisa ones, it's not common people who do it because it's not so easy to do. It's not so easy to break and make again. That's why there's no Gzera. So there are two reasons. The Rabbanon, or it's not easy. It's only special for Klei Matochos. No, nobody else. Thank you very much for the question. I'm sure there's another answer, but no mushana. Okay, weiter. Let's continue, but thank you for the question. Let's continue now. Okay, now. Let's review so far. So what did we see so far? We're playing the game here between Mateches and Cheres. So Lamaisa, for most things, it's similar to what? To Mateches, right? In other words, the reason why it became Tomeh, why did it establish Tumah? It's like Cheres. That's true. It may not be able to go to Mikveh in Tumah equivalent to the Raisa and Chinami, because why? It's what you call it. It's like Cheres, but the way it receives Tumah is like Kli Mateches, only from the outside, not from the inside. Like Kli Mateches. Why didn't they make the Gzera if the Klei Zchuchis were broken and built again? Right? Why don't we have that Gzera? Because that Gzera only applies to Klei Mateches with Doraisa, not to Klei Zchuchis D'Rabbanan, or not to other materials where it's not easy to do. Now, Shuteyan, Frag the Gemara, wait a second. If you remember, if you noticed what happened here in the middle, something interesting happened in the middle of the thing. We see that all of a sudden, Shute Klei Zchuchis, let's say I have a tray made out of Zchuchis, we said it does not receive Tumah, right? It's like the clay, Etz Klei O Kletzim Klei Zchuchis, Shutein Tehoirim. Why? But Shute Klei Mateches are Tomeh. Yeah, Frag the Gemara, the question is as follows. Shutei and mialitma. The Pshute Klei Mateches should become Tomeh. The Pshute Klei Matochos, Doraisa Ninu. Pshute Klei Mateches is Doraisa. Yeah, let's say it says Mufursh in the Torah, one of the famous psukim about what's his name is Cherev, Chalal Cherev. Yeah, Cherev, a sword, receives Tumah. Actually, if sword touches the dead person, it becomes avi Tumah. Also, other metal things. The sword is a pashut. It's a straight and sharp, right? And it's makabel Tumah Doraisa. So it's only one Doraisa. And if you want to tell me the Klei Zchuchis are like Klei Matochos conceptually, beikaron, that really they're like Klei Mateches Doraisa received them on their pashut. So if I have a glass knife or glass tray, it should receive Tumah. It's the equivalent of a Doraisa Dika regular Klei Matochos. Why did you tell me that Kli Mateches is not Mekabel Tumah when it's Pashut, when it's straight and simple? Answers the Gemara, and this now touches on a point I told you last week. This you're going to see it now. Avde beu Rabbanan hekera. Rabbanan made the special heker. Rabbanan made the special hula in klei zchuchis, a kera, a way to mark the difference between them and the doraisa. Ki hechi de lo lisrof alayu tumah v'kodshim. Oh, which means some, as I told you, we see it now. We'll see it in Rashi. Rabbanon are really walking on eggshells over here the whole time with Tumah and Tara. On one hand, we see a lot of chumras. The whole kivun is to be machmir on Tumah, right? On the other hand, if you're too machmir on Tumah, you're going to, let's say there's Tumah that touched your, let's say klis chuchis, the Rabbanon, right? What are you going to do? You're going to burn the Truma. Oops, now you're losing in the other direction. You're not allowed to burn Truma. It's also to be mafsid Truma or kodshim. It's also. So in most cases, Rabbanon did not want the Rabbanon dikatuma to be so strong at kedekach to cross the red line, the border, and burn Tumah and Kodshim. And here the Davka made the hekel. They left one oasis, one area in which Kli Zchuchis would not be similar to Kli Mateches and would not receive Tumah. And this way we'll remember that Kli Zchuchis in general, do not have the same level of Klei Mateches. And if anything touches the Kli Zchuchis, you'll be very careful. You'll see, let's make the cheshbon, mister. On one hand, it's Tomeh. On the other hand, it's not really Tomeh, like the Raisa. And if Truma touched it or Kodshim, I will not burn it. What will I do? I will be toilet. I will leave it on the shelf to rot, literally. Yeah? We saw that you burned the Truma. Now you have to read Rashi. Avdel Rabbanan Ekera. Look at the Rashi, the last Dibor Maschil, 3 lines before the bottom of the page. Betumas Klei Zchuchis, they made a heker, a way to remember. The Chilku ba mituma deoraisa. Why? Why did it differentiate from deoraisa? Lodia shimi divrayim, to announce to people, to make sure people know that it's only the Rabbanon. V'lo yisrafu alei Tumah v'kodshim, which is a red line. We saw cases that it does happen. If you remember, on Friday and Shabbos, we saw there are 6 cases we saw recently. Only 6 xeris they made very strong, and it said you have to burn anything that, there was Yadayim, and also there were certain cases where Rabbanan found you have to go all 9 yards, lock, stock, and barrel, and you have to burn. But these are exceptions. Most Tumah the Rabbanan are careful playing the game like that, and they walk the tightrope, and they said on one hand it's Tomeh, on the other hand it's not that Tomeh, you only have to be toilet, but don't burn it. So Klei Zchuchis really, in most cases, they came to the world Bizchus Kli Cheres. But because they're also similar to Klei Mateches, in the sense that they can be reshaped, they can be melted, reshaped, they share a lot in common Klei with Mateches. But we left one thing to be not like Mateches, which is a pshute Klei Zchuchis, so people remember, I know Zchuchis is different. Why is Zchuchis different, Rabbi? That's what my husband told me, kind of thing. Because Klei Zchuchis are only the Rabbanon. Now you know, whenever it touches Klei Zchuchis, you don't burn it, you just be toilet, which is better. We play it safe. Now let's continue. Continue. Quick. 1 more minute. Rav Ashi Omar. Rav Ashi has a whole different answer on the whole thing. Rav Ashi is really turning the whole, as we say. Rav Ashi turns everything around. Says Rav Ashi, listen, it's much more like klei cheres, because if you notice, we forced everything. We said one rule with so many exceptions. Says Rav Ashi, no, really it's like klei cheres, and therefore says Rashi, really the idea is like klei cheres because they started from the sand. Therefore, you know why pshute klei zchuchis are tahor? Because like cheres. You know why is it if I broke it and I refilled it, it's tahor? Because it's like cheres. What's the only case where we found it's like mateches? The location of here, that it should be tomeh, not from here. The klei zchuchis are tomeh from the outside, not from the avir, and that's like klei zchuchis. That's like klei mateches. That's the exception to the rule. It's really cheres through and through. It's a real cheresnik. The one exception to the rule that was really practically with klei mateches was one thing, and that is it becomes tomeh from the outside, not from the air. You know why? Your only surviving case that makes it like mateches is why isn't it tomeh from the back from the outside of the Kli Mateches, that's for a different reason, very interesting reason. Zechuchis, last time I checked, is transparent and always was transparent and clear, shakuf, transparent, yeah? Which means what? Which means inside and outside are the same. What's your wife cooking Friday? If you don't have good experience, you don't know. You don't see what's inside the Kli Mateches or Kli Ches. Kli Zchuchis, you see straight away. You see the salad through the Kli Zchuchis, you see the tea and the coffee, the Kli Zchuchis. Therefore, says Rashi, it's as if you don't know the Gav is not Gav but Toich. Yeah, it's all the same. Really, it's a Kli Cheres. But Kli Cheres is Metamer from the inside. Kli Zchuchis is Metamer, yes, from the inside and from the outside. Because the outside of Kli Zchuchis, because it's visible, is like the inside. It's one and the same. And therefore, it's Metamer from both directions. Both directions. Outside and inside. That's why. And really, it's like Kli Cheres through and through. But the way it's Metamer is also from the outside, because the outside is like the inside, because you can see through. That's why. But otherwise, it's a real bona fide true blue Kli Cheres. Zchuchis. Right. Oh, I wanted to correct myself. Thank you. Tosa says not from the Avir. I kept going like this, and then I had regret. Thank you for your question, David. Always good. It does. It is Matam if it touches the inside, but not the Avir. That's a kavana. If it touches on the outside, it's Matam, because the special din is squeeze, and also touching the inside. But if it's hanging from inside, then no. As far as the Kli Zchuchis, that's what I understood. Yes. So it's still different. It's another. It's kach nirali. I may be wrong, but that's where I understand it. Yeah, that's where I understood it. I hope I'm not wrong. Unless I don't know. Unless Rav Ashi can't argue with the Mishnah. The Mishnah did say the ones matam from the inside are only the other one, not Kli Zchuchis. Right, but I don't. Okay, I hear the question. I hear the aura. It's a good aura. Okay, weiter. So we didn't get as far as I wanted, but we did the Amud today. See you tomorrow, Mir Hashem. This week we're going to have a lot of these Tumah with our business, and next week will be much easier. Next week we're back to Shabbos, end of Shabbos, all the nice. Yeah. Now we get more to broaden horizons. To bring the Mashiach, you have to learn halachos of Mashiach. Thank you to our Zoom participants, to Tzvi and Jeff. Very nice you're with us. Thank you so much. Atzlacho brocho.